I wonder.
No, we're not
Okay,
singing
go
our
ahead.
intro.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, babe.
Hey, babe.
How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm great. How was your nap since you just woke up and
Ah, you know, late evening Saturday naps. They're kind of the best, I think.
I don't like taking naps, so I wouldn't agree with that statement.
You better get on it. You don't know what you're missing.
No, I'd rather not. I always feel like I'm wasting my day if I take a nap. I don't know. There's just I don't know. It feels like wasted time to me. You can sleep when you're dead.
And I've never felt that way. I think I've always enjoyed naps since I was younger. I used to come home from school, grab a bag of hot Cheetos. The extra hot Cheetos didn't exist at that time. And I would get on the couch, do my homework, watch some Recess, and I would just fall asleep. It was the best. I loved it. And until this day, I still enjoy naps. It's therapeutic. Hmm, it's rejuvenating. There's something to be said about just setting an hour and a half, 2 hours, really however much time you want to just rest.
I was gonna say you don't do an hour, hour and a half. It's always at least 2.5 plus,
That's
I
a
feel.
lie. That's a lie because today I actually set my alarm and I got an hour and a half.
Hmm.
I
I
do take longer naps than most, I would say, but some people would argue like a little cat nap is better, 30, 45 minutes. I disagree. I disagree. Set aside 2 good quality hours to just rest whenever you'd like on your day off. It's
Okay,
wonderful.
that's fair. That's totally fair. But now you're well rested and ready to go.
Ready to go. Wine and wonder.
Okay. Well, welcome to Wine and Wonder, guys. I am not gonna win this fight. He can sing if he wants. I guess I'm just bitter because I don't have a good singing voice. Anyways, welcome to Wine and Wonder, guys. Thank you for coming back for another episode.
Yeah. Come back every time.
Okay, so I'm Zach. I am the no, I'm a host.
Your
I'm
co host.
whatever. I am one of the hosts of Wine and Wonder, and with me is my partner James. Say hello, James.
Hello.
Why are we doing this awkward thing still? You sound so awkward.
I don't sound awkward. It's just who I am.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, so today on Wine and Wonder, we are going to be doing our wine of the week and then going into a little reality check, another new segment that I thought would be a little bit of fun. And then we are going to end it off with some pillow talk and then a quick review of the wine. So, babe, you're the one that picked out this wine. Do you have anything to say about it?
Cause you're the one I want. You. Yes. So the wine of the week. Really, I picked it out because it's Black History Month, and I think it was important for us to really celebrate and kind of highlight, um, Black-owned businesses. So this wine is by the McBride sisters, and it's called Black Girl Magic. It's a sparkling brut wine. So it's a bubbly white wine, and yeah, it's in a it's very pretty actually. It's kind of golden in color, and I think it looks really nice. Um, so we'll test it out. But while we're pouring it up and giving it a little taste, I thought I'd give you a little bit of history on the McBride sisters. So this company is actually owned by two sisters who originally didn't even know about each other, didn't even know each other existed, and that they're half sisters. And it's a really, really cool story because they actually grew up completely opposite ends of the world across the Pacific Ocean. one of them grew up in New Zealand with her mom, and the other one grew up in, I believe, Monterey or Napa, California, with her mom and I think her dad. So they have the same dad, different moms, and they didn't even know each other existed. But all the while, they're they're growing up and living their lives. The one in New Zealand, her mom ended up passing away, and then subsequently the dad passed away a little bit later on. And one of the dad's wishes before he died that he shared with his larger family, without this the sister in California knowing, is that he wanted the two of them to connect, and he wanted the family's help in doing that. So I think there's some facts that I get lost in between, but ultimately the family was able to figure out where the child in New Zealand was, where the sister in New Zealand was. She found a letter, and literally a day later, they met up in the LaGuardia Airport in New York. Um, and they did not know this at the original time that they met, but as they were getting to know each other, one of the things that they both had a unique passion for is wine. And they both had a desire to have their own winery business. Um, and both sisters, ironically enough, grew up in parts of their respective areas where wine is pretty prevalent. And that's where their individual passions came from. And so now they're together, they own this business together, and they're passionate about wine, they're passionate about making women successful, not only women of color but women in general. Most of their businesses, most of their employees, are women, and um, they're black sisters, and it's an amazing story about how they were able to connect with each other. They have this similar passion, and now they have an extremely successful business. They want to make great wine at an affordable price, and um, I believe they want to keep their all of their wines like under $20, give or take.
I have a question. Why do you know this? Is this like knowledge, like common knowledge, or did you do some research
And I researched because knowledge
today?
knowledge is power. Yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful story.
You did all this today?
I did, yeah.
Oh my God. You were literally just talking about how you didn't know what we were talking about today. And now you're going to pull this on me and, oh, never mind. I researched. You're a liar. Anyways,
Let's just go with the flow.
let's go with the flow. So,
Cheers to our third episode, and cheers to Black History and the McBride sisters.
also, I would like to make a cheers slash toast to Black excellence right in front of me. Um, you got the job that we were talking about last episode that I was so worried about you even mentioning. So, congratulations and cheers to that, babe.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, initial thought.
That's actually really good.
It's
Hmm?
pretty good.
What do you think?
It's good. I mean, I like bubbly, so
I
yeah.
like bubbly. I love brute wine. I love champagne in general. I don't
Yeah,
know if this would count as a champagne, but it's very good. I
it's
like it a
really
lot.
good. So, I guess we are going to do a new segment called Reality Check. I had a few different ideas in mind with this, but I think ultimately what I landed on was we are going to be giving advice and giving you a reality check. Um, Not necessarily in a mean way, but yeah, we are going to request that you guys go ahead and send us DMs to at Wine and Wonder Podcast on Instagram and just ask away. We're more than willing to give you some advice. But in the meantime, since we are waiting for these questions, I figured why not give each other some advice? So I hope you have a question that you are wanting some advice on, babe. I asked you to think of something. We'll see if you prepared. But I will start off asking for your advice slash opinion.
As you should.
Okay, cocky. But so for me, I am feeling a little bit stuck in life. I am 31 years old, about to be 32, and for me, I have always had a picture painted of what I was going to be doing in life, where I was going to be at this age, so on and so forth. And I feel like I am not meeting any of those goals. I did what everyone would say is quote unquote the right thing to do. And I went to college, got my college degree in accounting. Um, whether or not that's a good or bad thing, that's a whole other discussion. But I did the right thing, got my degree, tried to get into the field. Um, but I am not where I want to be at financially, career wise. I feel like I'm kind of stuck right now. Um, so, my question to you is, should I be feeling this way? What is your advice on how to possibly overcome all this negative energy that I am feeling because of where I am in life?
My name is James, and I have something to say.
What?
That's a reference to Jasmine Masters from RuPaul's Drag Race, by the way.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, of course I have advice. I think first and foremost is that I think it's important to really acknowledge and validate those feelings and tell yourself that, you know, it's okay for you to be feeling this way and that your feelings are valid. I think it's important not to minimize or dismiss the way that you're feeling in any way because, you don't want to, you know, take away from, the reasons why you're feeling this way. But I would say, with that said, that it's important for you to march to the beat of your own drum in life. And although there are certain goals and aspirations that you haven't yet achieved or that you might be feeling that you have fallen behind on, I think the important takeaway there is that you have goals and that you continue to have aspirations and things that you want to achieve and reach for. I think too many times that people get really complacent in life and they get a little too comfortable with where they're at and what they've achieved, and they sort of become stagnant. And I think that is where life starts to really throw you lemons. And for me, I think what I admire about you the most, and I think I shared this with you before, is that I feel personally that I have finally met someone that I cannot outgrow. And I think a lot of that is because of this conversation right here. Like you continue to really challenge yourself and question your reality and say, hey, this is not the end goal for me. I want to keep striving. I want to keep going. I want to be driven. And, I want to achieve more than what I already have. Um, but I do think that you don't give yourself enough credit for what you have done and the things that you have going on. Um, looking at the whole picture is that you are extremely financial responsible. You have a really great savings, racked up. And although it's not maybe exactly what you want, you probably have more money in your bank account than a lot of people at this age. And um, there's so many people that, you kind of have to put things in relative perspective and just say, like, hey, like, I'm better off than X, Y, and Z. Um, and continue to strive for those things. Like you will be able to grow your career. You're not going to be stuck in one place forever because you're not that type of person. And you recently just made a career change, which I admire, which is to get back into accounting, which is what you have your degree in. And you were, from my knowledge, you had kind of given up on that for a while because of your experiences in the past with, really not so great managers and really some very unhealthy working relationships that you've had with some of the businesses that you've worked for, accounting wise. So I think that it's incredibly, without giving out too many details, the place and the space that you were at before, for you to be willing and able to give accounting another try, to say, I'm going to give this another go and I'm not going to let this sort of defeat me really speaks volumes. And you've made that transition and you're what, just a little over a year into this accounting career now that you've delved back into. Um, and you're working for low income housing, right? So like you're working with unhoused individuals or people that have, that are living below, poverty line, if you will, and you're making a difference in that regard. And so you're really doing something that's incredibly important. Um, and I admire that. I will continue to say that time and time again. And so you'll keep pushing forward, you'll keep striving to do things. I think you're always going to be, because you are who you are, you're always going to be that person that's never really quite set on where you're at in life, quite comfortable with where you're at in life, because you're just a driven person. You are always going to continue to push yourself to be better and better. And I want those feelings to be healthy, though. I want those to translate into healthy passions instead of dwelling on the negative and saying like, oh, I should be here and I'm not. I should be there and I'm not. I should be doing this and I'm not. It should be like, hey, this is where I'm at and this is where I'm going. And I will get there eventually because I'm going to keep pushing myself to get there. And so I want it to be more of a healthy challenge than an unhelp, like your outlook just, I think, needs to be changed a little bit. But you're doing really well for yourself. You're not struggling. You are in a good place, and you're doing a lot better than a whole lot of people, I must say. So I think that again, you discount all of the good that you have going on in your life because you are such a passionate person. But you will achieve these things eventually. That's my advice to you, is just to change your outlook and really to change your perspective and knowing that this is a positive, that you want these things and that these are your goals.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Phil.
You're welcome.
No, but in all honesty, thank you. I really do appreciate that. That was honest and heartfelt, and I really like that. I mean, I will try my best to take the advice that you had just given me, but it will be hard for me just because, like you said, I am a highly driven person, and I just want more and I want the best for our life. So I guess I'll never be complacent with where I'm at. Yeah, I'll just try my best to take your advice. And then I am praying that I can give you somewhat decent advice because I feel like I'm just going to be like, no, this is what you need to do. This is what you're going to do. Boom, boom, boom. Anyways, what's your question for me? What would you like some advice on, babe?
Hmm. Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I think that since we're talking about careers and transition, I think it's important to, just like we've already said, I'm in a situation where now I'm moving on to a different role within the same company. But this is probably this is my, let's say one, two, this is my third, this is going to be my third career move in the last 3.5 years, 3.5, 4 years. I started with one job back in November of 2019. A year later, I moved into a leadership role. I did that for about a year and a half, and then I moved on to the role that I'm currently in right now. And now I'm moving on to something else. So sometimes I question if I'm moving a little too quickly. On the opposite end of the spectrum, it's like, you're feeling kind of in limbo and not enough movement. And I sometimes feel like I have a little too much movement with my career. And in a lot of ways, sometimes I don't know how to slow down because career progression is really important to me. Continue to learn and to grow is really important to me. And again, I think a lot of that comes from this dynamic that we have with each other, where we're kind of like, okay, what's our next move going to be? And so now, you know, I don't know, I've already had the conversation with my boss about moving on, and I don't know, I've rambled and talked just like I'm doing now about why I'm making the change, why the decision has come about, and I always sit and dwell on it. Like, am I making the right decision? Am I, did I say the right things? And is this really going to be a great move for me? And as good as it sounds on paper, it's like, is it going to really translate to that? Um, and so, I guess my question, since I've said all this, is like, what is your advice on making all of these career moves, and what is your advice on how to get as comfortable as you can as quickly as you can in a new job? What is your approach with that?
So, the first thing I do want to recognize, I think what you are doing, you said that you feel like you are possibly moving way too fast. I think you're moving at the pace that you're supposed to be moving. We are always supposed to be moving forward. And it just so happens that's exactly what you're doing. You're going from one thing to another to another. You have not taken any steps back. Um, You've gone from being like a frontline person to being a leader to those frontline people now. And then you've just built upon that. And that's what you're supposed to do. Financially, like, I mean, I know a little bit of the backstory, but you're doing the right career moves. You're consistently making more and more, which is great for you. Um, I don't think you're moving too fast. You are moving at the right rate. As long as you continue just growing and learning more, that is what it's all about. If you were to start taking steps back, we would have to kind of analyze and focus like why that is happening. But I think in this day and age, it's good to want to move forward. You don't want to be stagnant. It just it shows, at least in my eyes, you're willing to grow, you're willing to learn more, and that's a really good trait to have. As far as moving into the new role, how to adjust to it, because for you, it is a brand new job. Like, I don't think it's anything that you've ever really done before. Like I said, I do know a little bit of the background. You had worked with this team previously in the job that you are in now, and they did approach you for it. So in my head, they already saw something in you that they felt you could do, and that's why they approached you. They wouldn't have just done that if they didn't think you could actually do the work. So that's one thing you do have to keep in mind. Um, you are going to be learning a lot of new terms, a lot of new like applications you're going to be using. You need to give yourself some time and recognize it is okay to make mistakes. I think they say it takes at least a year to get comfortable in a position. And even then, a year may not be long enough. So you need to just be able to give yourself a little bit of grace and realize, hey, I am brand new at this analyst position. Ask all the questions. Whenever you run into any issues, do not take it upon yourself to feel like you have to be the only one to resolve it. You need to reach out to your new teammates because that is what they are there for. This is a learning experience for you. So just go in with open ears, open eyes. What is it called? Like beginner's eyes, basically, or beginner's ears. And just be willing to learn. Ask all the questions, and you will eventually become a pro at this too. You are a very intelligent man, which is a disadvantage to me sometimes, but you are a very intelligent man and you will figure it out. You're going to be overwhelmed at first, but that is okay. That is what I am here for. I am here to help you in whatever way that you need. So just go with it, learn as much as you can, and try to enjoy yourself. Like, that's what life is all about. And I'm proud of you for this. Good job, babe.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I am very excited to move forward, and um, you know, just I think for the sake of the conversation, this is a relatively big change. I'm very fortunate that I get to work remotely 100% of the time now, which I have worked from home plenty of times before, but I usually only do it once or twice a week because I have had a team, that relies on me. But I also am moving away from, although I'm making more money, I'll be moving away from having a team. So that's new for me. I've been told by so many people, like, you're so good at being a leader. You're so good at being, at the people management skills is a strong suit of yours. And I've told myself time and time again, as much as I enjoy having great relationships with people that I work with, for those that have been in management and have supervised people before, I think we all can say the same thing. Like, it takes a specific type of person to want to continue to do that long term. For me, I think it has its shelf life, and I think it gets old quickly because inevitably you run into some really shitty situations, and you just become, you know, like a babysitter of adults at some times, and it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. So I'm excited about that, but also it's going to be new for me not having that responsibility. And then yeah, I'm tapping into a completely new realm of healthcare that I kind of don't know anything about. And as much as I'm taking a risk and a gamble, I think that this team and this department is taking a risk on me because I've saw something, especially me with this little project that we were working on, and they know that I don't necessarily have the experience or the background, but I think they're counting on some of my leadership skills to really translate well into this role, to have kind of critical conversations with directors and above. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited, and I know it's going to be challenging, but I will definitely take your advice and allow myself to be new and give myself a little bit of grace along the way.
I do also want to touch back on something that you had just said. Um, how everyone says that you are good at your job. They want to see you move on in this role. They're placing their expectations on you.
Yeah.
Um, I think for a lot of us, I think at least in my life too, like I felt like people were always placing their expectations on me, and they would be like, "Oh, you would be great at this or you'd be great at that." And so I would kind of take that upon myself and try to mold myself into what other people want me to be. And I just want to say that it is important to recognize your own feelings for that. Like, maybe because you are good at it doesn't necessarily mean you enjoy it and it brings you joy or whatever. Um, at the end of the day, you always need to watch out for number one, which is yourself. Um, so you don't necessarily need to mold yourself to everyone else's opinions or ideas of you. You need to do what makes you happy. So yeah, even though you're great at being a supervisor, manager, um, it doesn't necessarily bring you as much joy, and that's okay. That's why you are also moving on to this new role. Maybe this new role will bring you joy and you'll have a passion in this and be super successful in this field now.
That's the hope, and that is actually that's kind of a learning lesson that I've taken over the years. Is that kind of the inner conversation I have with myself is reminding myself and telling myself randomly that just because I'm good at something doesn't mean that it's for me. Just because I excel at something doesn't mean that that is what I should be doing.
Exactly.
And I've also learned over the years that people do whatever the hell is best for them. I think when you're in leadership and when you do have a direct reports, you learn at the end of the day, people are going to do whatever the hell is best for them. Doesn't matter how it impacts you, doesn't matter how it impacts the team. They're looking out for themselves. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you do learn that, and eventually you got to do that for yourself too, some at some point along the way. So um, I think this is one of those moves where I'm kind of thinking about myself and being a little selfish, not in a bad way, but being selfish for good reasons. And I'm hoping that it's a good move for me long term. We'll see.
So I hope these two conversations that we just had resonates with some of you. Just know it is okay where you are at in life. You are doing the best that you can, and nothing is wrong with that. And know that you need to allow yourself to have beginner's eyes when starting a new task, and just give yourself a little bit of grace. So, if you guys have anything you want us to give you a little bit of friendly advice on, or maybe not some friendly advice, maybe you do need a reality check, go ahead and DM us on our Instagram page at Wine and Wonder Podcast. Um, just shoot us a quick message, and maybe you can go ahead and be featured on our show. If you want to be anonymous, please let us know that, because I have a habit of just putting people on blast. So, yeah, definitely make sure you want to tell us that you want to be anonymous if that is the case. All right. Thank you, babe, for that advice.
You're welcome. Thank you. I think we can, as we get questions or people looking for advice, we can give those. Is it called pseudonames? Is that what it's called? We can
Oh,
just give
yeah.
them. We can just use their first name. Like at this point, we're not like recording or showing the message that we're receiving, so it should be okay.
So, no question is off limits. Just go ahead and ask for anything that you want. And as long as it is appropriate, we will go ahead and answer it. All right. So that was reality check. I don't like that's too forceful. Anyways, next segment. So a little bit of pillow talk. So I'm gonna have my boyfriend whisper some sweet nothings into my ear about what it is that you want to talk about. So go ahead, babe, entertain the masses, or our 3 Instagram followers and myself.
All right. So this next segment is called Pillow Talk. The purpose of this conversation.
I was gonna say no ASMR.
So I think the purpose of this segment is to just really talk about all the random shit that I think about or come across or really engage with as I'm watching things online or looking at things online before I go to bed.
A lot of the time it is really, really random. I have no idea why the hell you're watching it, but then after you tell me about it, I'm like, "Oh shit, that is actually pretty interesting."
Yeah.
So, what are you talking about tonight, babe?
Well, and this topic is very interesting to me, at least. Um, so this is, let me just say this: I'm not a medical expert. I know a very limited amount of facts on a very surface level when it comes to this particular topic. And I also want to say that preface this conversation. It is in no way to like really make fun of or poke or joke about the seriousness of this particular topic, because there's a lot of people that are impacted by this particular topic, and whose lives um, are affected by it. So I want to say that I just find it to be a very, very intriguing and interesting topic of conversation, and a conversation that could be had about this. Um, and that is about DID, also known as multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, what does DID stand for? Thank you.
DID stands for dissociative identity disorder. So, just so that people are aware, this disorder is characterized by the presence of two or more distinct personality identities. Each typically has its own unique name, personal history and characteristics.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
So I mean, you might be already getting into this, but is this the same thing as schizophrenia?
No, this is a different disorder,
Okay.
mental disorder. And I hate the word disorder or illness. This is, you know, this is a diagnosis, if you will, of somebody who is affected by this. So, again, I know very little about this, but I actually want to shout out somebody here from TikTok, and it is the Winter System. So, shout out to the Winter System. I love them. Um, and I think it's important that we use appropriate pronouns in this situation too, because I believe because people who typically have DID they have multiple personalities. If you're a multiple individual people within their system, if you will. And so they typically use we and us, they and them type of pronouns. So I will be using those throughout this particular segment. Yeah. So I wanted to shout out the winter system because it's truly the winter system that's used some of the language um, and is really out there on TikTok, sort of educating individuals and what I feel like is a very positive way, in a very respectful way. And of course, there's a lot of people out there that just don't simply get it, but it's not really for them to understand. And so what I get from this situation is that typically people who have DID have multiple personalities, and as the description says, it's usually more than two distinct personalities. So imagine myself as just a physical body that is essentially carrying out the life of in the winter systems case, it's kind of like I believe it's like six or seven distinct people who they actually are. And each of these people within their system have a name, they have a history, they have a story, they have a look and a personality, and they have it's again, it's almost like your body is a vessel for carrying multiple lives, if you will.
Okay, so your body's just a host, really. Like,
Exactly, and the host is actually a key term in the language of DID because your body is essentially a host. You know, a lot of people with DID don't necessarily believe in souls because they have multiple souls, right? And so their body truly is just a mechanism for carrying out the lives of these individuals. Um, and a lot of times, the individuals that I created in the system of these hosts, if you will, is because of trauma, and it's usually a way for the individual to move away from really harsh things that have happened to them um, in the past. Could be emotional trauma, physical trauma, sexual trauma. The list goes on and on. But usually, some really bad things have happened to them, and so it's all in an effort and in a way for them to forget about it. They create a whole different entity.
with that being said, um, are the different personalities, are they aware of, like, the other is it, like, personality? Is that the correct what's the correct way to say it first?
Yeah, I think in medical terms, personality is appropriate. I
Okay.
think in terms of you know again, I keep going back to the winter system as just using this as an example because it's like one of the like few times I've come across this. But yeah, they are fully aware of the other individuals that exist within their system.
But are they also aware of their experiences? Like, are they almost like you said it's a way for them to block it out. So, like, personality A will go through this experience, and then personality B goes through a different experience. But, like, do they ever, like, intertwine? Do they, like, personality B kind of feels what personality A is, like, going through, or they are just completely separate? And, like, it's basically like me and you. Like, I have my experiences, you have your experiences. We do not like really intertwine unless we're sharing them. But it's kind of like that.
Exactly. It is truly separate and unrelated. So you have, let's say you have person X, person Y, and person Z. Person X has a particular experience that may or may not be traumatizing. It could be just something that's a day to day thing that they did or something that happened to them. Person Y is very fully aware of what has happened or what person X did or what happened to them. But again, it's in a way it's a way for them to compartmentalize that. So person Y doesn't in any way feel as if that particular experience or task or thing that occurred happened to them personally. It happened to person X.
Okay, so they're just a bystander.
Not even a bystander. They're just aware as if they were friends with each other and that
Oh,
person explained or expressed what had happened to them.
okay.
They're aware of it in that sort of way, is my understanding. And I could be totally wrong, but that's my understanding. And that's what I kind of get from it is like, let's kind of give them pseudonames. So let's say it's, I don't know, Jessica and Bob. So Bob is fully aware of what happened to Jessica and because Jessica told Bob, even though Bob and Jessica are technically the same person.
Question. I'm
Yeah.
probably taking you way off topic, but so can the different personalities be different genders? Like, can they express themselves in different ways? So, like, I can have a female personality and a male personality.
No, that's a great question, and the answer to that is yes, and that is oftentimes the case, from my understanding, is a lot of times with people that experience DID and have a system of people within their system, or that is the case. So you have not only different genders that can span across the gender spectrum, you could have a totally heterosexual, cis identifying male, but you can also have a trans woman or trans man. You can have a non binary individual within that entity. You can have a young child. You can have an older male or female or, a person that identifies with gender somewhere in between. And oftentimes, what I've learned is that they all coexist within the same host, if you will, but they call it fronting. And so when you're outwardly expressing a particular person within your system, um, oftentimes the individual will dress and present themselves of what they feel that person looks like, what they act like, what their personality is. And so they could go from being a 6 or 7 year old boy to a middle aged heterosexual female. And oftentimes they will they wear wigs, they put makeup on, and they do all of these things because they have this image in their mind that they're trying to portray, and that's what they do. And they call it fronting. So when let's say I have DID and I have a system of two. In this case, let's just use a small number, and I have two distinct personalities. So if I am outwardly expressing my like one person in my system is a female and one of it is a male. So I'm outwardly expressing my male appearance and expression and everything else, then that is I'm fronting as that person. It's like that person is in the forefront of your system at that point in time. But it can change and it can transition. It's usually like a very fluid transition from one to the other, but sometimes if that person hasn't fronted, quote unquote, in a while, and maybe your system wants that person to front, then you will like change your hair and makeup to try to get that person to come out and be in the forefront.
So is there anything that like makes a personality come out more, or like how does that work? Like, are all the personalities like fighting to basically be presenting, or Like, how is that determined?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have enough knowledge to really speak on that. From what I've observed, is typically there's not a like a fight for it necessarily. It's usually something that happens very fluidly and smoothly over time. Is you just kind of transition from one person to the other kind of effortlessly. But I would say typically there's not like this inner turmoil that happens where you're trying to get someone to like come out and be, in the forefront necessarily. So it's just cool. It's just so interesting to me. And it is something that, I think a lot of people will have a hard time kind of wrapping their head around when they see it kind of in real life. And they're like, oh, these people are like really just like out of control. But it really is their reality. And a lot of times, like, I think we need to boil it down to kind of how this sort of diagnosis comes about. And it really is because these individuals have gone through, a lot of times, they've gone through some really rough times and they've been impacted so significantly that, they almost have to become another person to, in an effort to forget about it. And so, it really comes from a place of trauma. But I also think that it's important that regardless of this being like a mental disorder, a mental illness, whatever you want to call it, um, I think it's important to respect the process and respect who they are at that point in time. Use the appropriate pronouns as I probably have not done quite well at this uh, during this segment, but I think it's important to really just respect where they're at in their life, and just if they're fronting as a particular person in their system, and you respect that, you use the appropriate name, you use the appropriate pronouns, and you just go with it. But the winter system, please go like and follow because I really enjoy their TikTok. They go on live often. There's actually a funny story about how they got banned from live because I don't want to share too much of their own story, but they got banned from live and they try to appeal it. And they're like, I'm banned from live, guys, for like a week. And then they try to appeal it. And they're like, I got 3 months. It was funny, but it wasn't. And then they're back on live. So something must have happened. They're back on live. I don't think it was their alt account that they created. Because I think you have to have so many followers, like 1,000 followers to go live or something. But they're back live, so if you come across the winter system, watch and show them love, and yeah, it's awesome.
I'm definitely gonna go ahead and start following them. I'm gonna try to reach out to them and see if we can start a conversation. That'd be kind of cool, like to understand this more. Like this is something that is worth talking about, and I mean, I'm glad that they have a platform to just be able to openly express who they are and educate us. Like, I have so many questions. So, I'm definitely going to try to reach out to them just to see what happens. So,
And they seem really comfortable answering any questions when it comes from a place of curiosity and respect. So, and they often say on their live, like, "Does anybody have any questions for us?" It's great, and I think they're great. So,
well, cool. Thank you for sharing that.
you're
That was
welcome.
really interesting. You do come up with some pretty random shit. And I mean, I can tell you, I would have never looked into this. Like, I wouldn't have even realized that it existed. So, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I really like that. All right. So, that was Pillow Talk, guys. And we are coming to an end. Babe, what do you think about the wine?
It's great. I love it. I'm really enjoying it. So, if you have an opportunity, go to our Instagram first so you can see what it looks like. It's Black Girl Magic Sparkling Brute by the McBride Sisters. Go out, support Black owned businesses this February. And not only this February, all damn year
I
long.
was going to say, not
The
just
Black
February.
excellence.
Yes.
Go out. We went to Total Wines, but you can go to Bevmo. You can go to probably your local grocery store. I'm pretty sure they carry this particular line. Go out there, buy the wine. It's amazing. It's great.
It's really good. Out of the ones that we have tasted so far, I am going to put this as number one. This, I would rate it probably an 8.5 out of 10. What about you?
Disrespectful. 10 out of 10.
Really?
10 out of
A 10
10.
out of 10?
I would get it again.
I mean, yeah, definitely get it again, but 8.5. I don't know what a 10 out of 10 wine is yet. Like, I've never been like just blown away. Hallelujah, shalom, lama, 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 bang, bang. Like, yeah. So I'm waiting for that moment. This wine, I'm not gonna lie, it was really good. I love bubbly, so perfect. But I don't want to just give out a 10 and then be like next week actually have another 10 moment, you know?
No. Give the McBride sisters
Oh
their
yeah.
flowers.
Yes, give them exactly like they are this is good. I'm not taking that away from them. Like go ahead and support black owned businesses. That is mwah, chef's kiss. We'll buy this again. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to us. Go ahead and follow us on our Instagram at Wine and Wonder Podcast. There you will find some behind the scenes stuff. We will be trying to post a little more. Yeah, we're going to be doing behind the scenes stuff. I don't have
Oh,
a
I didn't know that. I don't know.
I don't
Shout out
know.
to Zach's eyebrows today, everyone. He got his eyebrows done. Normally, when he gets them done, they're just kind of like, they kind of look the same,
What?
honestly. But today, they're snatched and they're looking bomb.com. They're still thick and full, but they're so precise and clean. This is the best they've looked in a while. So, um, great job. You look great.
I wish I could take the credit myself, but it was my threading lady. So shout out to my threading lady. I don't know who you are, but
Wait,
uh,
did you go to the same lady? It was the same person or
no, I
no?
went to the same business, but it was a different lady this time.
You need you need to go back to her
I
next
do.
time.
I think
Yeah.
she's new, but
She thinned them out a little bit, but they look better than they've looked before.
2023 is going to be my glow up year. I already know it. I can already feel it in my bones. We are going to have a successful podcast. I'm manifesting this shit right now. Successful podcasts, both of them. I would also like to give a shout out to at Three Gays and a Babe. That's my other podcast that I'm on, babe. I have to give
I
a shout out
know.
to
Shout out to
them.
Three Gays in a Bay. I've listened to a sneak peek of one of the episodes. It's actually really great. So
Yeah.
great content, great laughs. Please go out and support the other podcasts as well.
Yeah. Um, we're going to have some successful podcasts. We are going to hopefully reach and meet some new friends, and I'm excited for what we have to come. So thank you for embarking on this journey with me, Beb.
You're welcome. Love you, babe.
I love you too. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good night, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, y'all.